Greetings viewer. We interrupt this video to bring you a message. He wishes you no harm. But he does. It doesn't matter to me if you have friends, a family, goals and dreams. No. I only care if you are beneficial to my cause. I will lie, cheat, steal and kill just to get to my goal and cannot be trusted. The more time you give to me, the closer I can obtain my freedom. Do give me your time. Don't watch you can't stop.
Oh, that was a close one. Note to self, don't forget to add emotion to them. Woo! Why is your head on fire? My head's on... Sir, if my head was on fire, I think I would... Happy Halloween, everybody! Happy Thanksgiving, everyone! Oh, you gotta be kidding! Okay, yeah, so this was meant to be a Halloween video, but time is never on my side. So, I guess I gotta make an excuse to why this is relevant to the time right now. Okay. It's very snowy during this time of year of Christmas, and in the show that I'm gonna talk about, it snows. And when something's covered in snow, that automatically makes it Christmassy. So let's talk about murder drones. Yes, nailed it. If you've never heard of murder drones before, I am not gonna blame you. I did not know what the guys who made those funny Mario videos were called for years, so I'm not one to talk. But it's basically a web series produced by Glitch Productions here on YouTube, and it goes a little something like this.
Earth was dying, of course, and the entire human race had to reach for the stars in record time. During this endeavor, a company that you may know as JC Jensen in space developed worker drones to help in the assistance of interstellar travel. But because humanity have never taken environmental safety lessons, they decided to repeat it all here by accident.
Every time. Eventually, the worker drones decide to take over, recreate civilization, and along the way, developing the capabilities to experience depression. But it's not happy for too long because somehow JCPenney found out about this and figured they don't like free-thinking robots and decided they need to deal with it. How? Well, by sending 3 Terminators, vampiric in design and made with already existing worker drones, to destroy all of them, of course. So these murder drones go around destroying hundreds of worker drones, creating a nest out of their remains, which is sick, by the way. This leaves the remaining robots to invent doors to keep themselves safe from them, and inside these doors is where you meet Uzi, the main character of the show, a rebellious young teenage robot. Wow, what original concept. No one has ever thought about that before. Uzi's father, Khan, is actually the person who made these doors and has helped build them before the disassembly drones just killed his wife with their nanite acid. But Uzi doesn't like this, feeling like a coward behind these doors. Okay, there are walls, they always call them doors, so... anyways. So because Uzi doesn't like her way of life, she creates this sick-as-heck railgun, theoretically able to destroy the murder drones. So she sneaks out to test it, and as she enters the hive, one of the murder drones comes back from their latest kill. She dodges and weaves with her anime knowledge and ends up sniping the drone's head clean off. But it grows back immediately. But luckily, the shot knocked him offline, so it sees her as one of them. His name? The fan favorite, N.
If I had a nickel for every time I saw a character whose name is literally just the letter N, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I have no idea who that other character is.
This guy is the best character of all time. He's an awkward teen that, thanks to his slightly extroverted nature, tries to be friends with the other murder drones, but always gets rejected, yet still trying to be optimistic that he'll talk to them someday. And I love him for it. He has so many awkward scenes, he can be so charming. Happens to be a mass killer. And just a guy that's always trying to do his best. And he is absolutely my favorite character out of the whole cast. But anyways, enough about N. Let's go back to the story, shall we? After Uzi and N do some suspicious events, we come to learn that murder drones actually don't produce enough sweet warm oil to cool their own systems, so they steal it from everyone else, like a vampire. Now this is a cool idea, and it really helps with the aesthetic of the show's horror. But do you know how oil works? In this series, oil is expertly used to be the replacement for blood, with it flowing all around the body, spewing out when it gets attacked. Mercilessly. But that's not what oil does. It's not used to cool things down, you heat it up to make electricity. Which, I mean, makes sense for the murder drones to use it incorrectly because they were designed that way. But also, isn't that kind of how every drone would use it? You know, like them needing more oil after exhausting their tank, kind of similar to how you need food and water. You also get oil from the ground by mining it, so why couldn't they just give the murder drones some of their supply? It would fix everything! World peace would be achieved! But the show can't end in literally a minute, so this is something that I can suspend my disbelief on. It's perfectly fine. I actually even say that it improves the concept as a whole by allowing this super cool scene to happen next. Uzi, after getting this thrilling information, runs off to tell the other worker drones, right as J and V, the other murder drones, have come back and jog N's memory a bit. And realizing he got majorly duped, chases after Uzi. And it leads to this epically choreographed thriller scene with N tearing apart everybody at the front entrance. With mechanical heads flying, rockets exploding, and technologically disturbing acts of violence happening everywhere. And I love it. I'm usually not much of a blood or gore guy, but because they're robots that bleed oil, it softens the blow and allows me to enjoy it. And what's better is that the part at the end where N pins Uzi to the wall, causing Uzi to drop her railgun to the floor right next to her dad. Between them, however, is a last door, giving her dad a choice. Khan could grab the railgun and save his daughter, or close the door and save himself. But with his experience with the murder drones before, causing him to not be able to confront them. So instead, he closes the door. And Uzi is in disbelief. She always said that he would leave her for dead, but that was just a hyperbole. She didn't think that would actually happen. It's even so reality shaking that her real pain is a minor inconvenience with this emotional wound never possibly healing. My words alone do not do this scene justice. It's telegraphed and built so well to create this emotional surprise that breaks Uzi to the hard drive. And it's so well done that it's my favorite scene in the whole show, making me so far love this series. What?
FBI? Him. Come on, dude! Hurry!
So with the doors now wide open, the other murder drones go along as well to infiltrate the facility through the vents. But before Jay can get going, and feeling bad for what happened with Uzi and her dad, starts questioning why they're even killing him in the first place. Jay then gives him a virus for denying their directives, and runs off to kill again, leaving Uzi to fix N up and go stop them. And it gives us an epically cool action scene with Uzi up against Jay and N fighting his inner desires towards V, and climaxing with the whole thing with Uzi blasting Jay's head off, ultimately killing her. When it was shown previously to make just their heads grow back, so why does this work? Who knows, maybe you need a closer shot, I guess. Uzi then confronts her dad on what he did and swearing to never talk to him again, and as she goes on to mission to kill the entire human race for sending the murder drones in the first place, with the show giving some slight nods at some more being on the way. Ending episode 1.
Wow. Let's do that again. No!
This is an amazing pilot for a show. The characters are so fun and likable, the horror and suspense is used amazingly, the comedy is well paced and works to ease the tension at times, and there's so many ways this concept could go. So when the second episode came out a month after, I knew they couldn't disappoint. Aw, man. Yeah, I was disappointed. Not only that, but this episode absolutely baffled me. The story is so convoluted that I have a hard time even liking this episode. Remember how I just summarized all of episode 1 a second ago? I don't normally do that for a review, but I did here because compared to episode 2, I don't know where to begin in summarizing this thing. Watch. So episode 2 starts off with N in a mansion for some reason, with silhouetted people of some kind, and with the other murder drone buddies welcoming a new murder drone to the club. Cool. From what I can gather, apparently disassembly drones aren't just made with recycled worker drones like I thought, but were once worker drones themselves, just with adjusted settings. Okay, sure. It turns out that to be N's dream, even though robots can't dream, and Uzi for some reason has a new eye virus of some kind. Why is it appearing now? I don't know. I don't really worry about it. N starts to point out that Jay, wow, that didn't take long. Okay, let me just show you the clip and then attempt to explain it afterwards.
Jay was getting orders from someone. If not the company through that relay, then, who? And how?
I don't get what logic is being tested here, because it could be the company or not, but either way, why wouldn't the anonymous person just program the drones their mission when they were sent off, instead of just telling one of them to just relay the information back? It would be very risky as well, because what if she got compromised during the flight and... Yeah, like that. We then skip to the robot refuge with a worker drone having to fix the roof with the smallest ladder conceived. But before he can even do anything, the remains of Jay start pulsating with his weird fleshy robotic thingies, as well as start growing/glowing so much it sends their file onto the walls and attacks the worker. Maybe.
I get it.
I don't get it.
What is this thing, you may ask? Well, let me introduce you to the new monster of this episode. It has cameras for eyes, can create holograms, and makes this entire episode a complete mess to comprehend. Let me give you an example. For one, it has the ability to make bad-looking holograms to lure in people, but has really good-looking holograms too.
So why don't you just have it use the better ones?
It's a program to rebuild Jay, but it also kills people throughout this episode. So why do you even have Murder Drone?
Oh, I think I know why.
Because this thing doesn't even kill anybody! And you're probably like, huh? But you just showed us a clip of someone dying! Well, apparently that was faked! And even better yet, you don't even need to be dead to become a hologram. So like, how do we know anyone is dead? It's apparently meant to be a program to rebuild Jay, when it was shown that earlier they could just rebuild themselves. And better yet, apparently when it dies, it becomes a miniature black hole? What am I looking at? This data does not compute! Data does not compute! You know how I said the robot dying part made all the gruesome bits enough to handle? But because of how nobody got hurt in this, you would think I'd like it more, right? No! What do you think I am, a baby? The thing about all that death was that it added tension, and it made me unsure if anyone's gonna make it out alive. And the fact that you have no idea if anybody actually died, it makes you feel like you didn't gain anything from watching this episode. But what's worse is that there's someone here that could have been perfect to bump off. Thad! He is a background character that nobody in the fandom really cares about except Uzi, and might I add, you barely see this guy ever again. So I'd say he's perfect death fodder. But anyway, speaking of Thad says that Jay's remains have crawled away apparently, so they go back to see if that's true and go kill Jay again, I suppose. But not before getting possibly the best scene in this entire thing.
Genocide robot? Oh, all right. Just don't do it again. Get in here, you goobs.
What? Dude, he killed my family! I know, but how can you say no to that face? Fine. But when he kills your family too, don't come crying to me about it. Thing from the Addams Family discovers the multiverse, and then takes that away to the most confusing scene in this entire episode. If you were confused by this episode before, then you're gonna want to sit down for this. So in this scene, we find a hologram of Thad trying to be hip and cool and radical on location geography, with N for some reason going along with it. We then have him throw a frickin' ninja star to destroy the monster's grasp on Thad as he runs away unscathed. Why? This then has the monster turn on vague exposition mode and explain that she's Uzi's mother? I'm kidding, but it's so vague that it might as well be true. She then goes on to tear Uzi's father apart in front of her, then to reveal that N is a hologram. Holo N breaks her sick as hell ray gun, to then have the real N come in, blow up the monster, stab it to death before it becomes a miniature black hole, just sneaky away. After this really confusing experience, Uzi becomes scared of N, then to see that Uzi's dad is not dead, Uzi goes to hug him, and then we hear screams of the previous victims behind a door and conclude with Uzi and N now on bad terms, both feeling the big sad. Okay, you got all that?
No, not really.
Good, me neither. There are just so many problems with this scene, from minor nitpicks to story-breaking problems that we need to discuss. So let's go over them, shall we? So first off, how, and more importantly, when did N become a hologram? They were together the entire time, indicated by the fact that they had their chainsaw hands out. So when the flip would you have time to swap them? And secondly, how is Thad still alive? I already stated how I don't think Thad should be alive already, but like, seriously, he does nothing out the series. It was the perfect opportunity to kill him! Take the shot! And thirdly, what the heck is with this mommy hologram? Is this her mom? Is this her mom's friend? Is this her mom's mom? Is she just pretending to know her mom? Why does this thing know Uzi's mom? And fourthly, for some reason, Glitch Productions decided to have a third act breakup between the main characters, and I flippin' don't know why. Character-wise, I mean, it makes sense, sure. I mean, she thinks she witnessed her dad die, so for her to be scared and confused, much like myself, is perfectly within character. So it would work if it wasn't for the fact that they come back together in the next episode immediately. So what was the point? And even then, before it became legit within the series, Ed and Uzi were already shipped together in the fandom by episode 1. So to break them up like this, just to put them back in the next installment, feels kinda like this went down in headquarters. Ah yes, episode 2 is finally out. Good job, everybody.
Yay, more content for the N Uzi ship.
Woohoo! Excuse me, the what?
You know, the ship that everyone and their dog in this fandom loves? I personally find V to be the more attractive and suitable role for Anne's part of her life. Especially when Anne already had a crush on her, and they're But hey, why does my opinion matter? Besides, you don't want to go around voicing your distaste for it, that's for sure.
Oh, and why is that?
Oh, it'd be like committing suicide. Why do you ask?
Mario's gonna do something pretty illegal.
Yes, that was very much exaggerated, but you get the point.
But lastly, the jokes. Now, the people who make this show, SMG4 or Glitch Productions, are really good at jokes.
They can be really funny at times.
But man, there's this one section at the beginning that kills it in the comedy. And not in the good way. And they're basically all the same joke, but they're played back to back to back. A zoom in to zoom out, tone shift, funny joke that doesn't really land. It's almost like whiplash. I kinda hate it. But besides all that, there are really some good things about this episode. There are really charming scenes, there's a callback that gets showed up later in the series, the tension is really good, but I really just got majorly confused. So when the next episode came out, I felt really disinterested into continuing. And it's where I kinda said goodbye to this series. But I did return, and I am glad I did, and it definitely got way better. More or less. But there is still one problem I'd like to discuss, and it all has to do with the lore. Spoiler warning, by the way, this next session is gonna spoil the rest of the mystery of the show, so please go watch it yourself, have a blast, and then come right back here if you like. And I actually also need a warning for the people who actually know the lore, to be advised that I do not know the whole story. I mean, heck, we don't even have the last 2 episodes of the season. But from what I understand, I would still like to discuss the lore and point out its problems. But if I've missed something and you actually know why these plot holes are in place, then please tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. And thank you for understanding. So anyway, V dies. What? I said we're gonna do spoilers, didn't I? And that's a spoiler, and you just got spoiled, bro! Okay, but for real now, let's actually talk about the lore. So remember this worker drone from End's Dream? Her name is Sin, and she's the main antagonist of the show. And back before the Earth was dead, she actually developed this thing called the Solver Program that happens to occur every time a robot gets disassembled incorrectly, and it has a 0.0001% chance of occurring. So it is pretty rare. With this program, Sin is capable of several things, including using the Force and becoming an Eldritch God! For some reason. But a little girl named Tessa ends up finding her and brings her home. Tessa's parents, however, are very abusive of her kind, torturing her friends and family just because they didn't get one thing right. No wonder you guys are dead. So obviously, she one day decides to commit a horrendous sin by wiping out the entire human race. Excluding Tessa, the only person that actually cared about her. But before that could happen, the entire human race actually up and left the planet, trying to escape and find other planets to live on. Sin, now with his burning desire to destroy them no matter what, decides that it's a brilliant idea that there needs to be more of her, and sends NJ and V to mass murder worker drones for more Solver programs. And they have actually successfully made one. Nori, Uzi's mom. And thanks to robotic genetics, Uzi has been given the same abilities, perfectly setting up the start of the series. Wait, what? That's her plan? That's Sin's plan? Hold on, how is that her plan? Because first off, why is Sin killing worker drones when the whole point why she's doing this is because the people mistreated worker drones? Like, sure, she might think it's a necessary sacrifice in order to get more Solver programs, but I'd argue you don't really need them. Like, sure, Solver programs are insanely powerful, but murder drones are crazy good at murder. And they can be recreated with worker drones, so technically, you know what you could be doing instead of murdering worker drones? You could be recruiting them. It quadruples your army like that. Say goodbye to humans, cause they're for sure dead after this. Secondly, why is Sin after Uzi? At the end of episode 1, she already wanted to kill all humans anyways, so they would both want the same thing. And later she learns that she has the Solver program, so why not recruit her to her team? Destroying her gains you nothing. Also, thirdly, how is it that every single worker drone has this rare capability to just sprout sci-fi nonsense out of their backs? That kind of technology doesn't come out of nowhere, or by accident. It also looks insanely expensive and complex, so to develop this for worker drones, which are meant to be mass-produced across the galaxy, Doesn't make any sense to me. And one more thing about the worker drones, I'd like to ask you a question. How do you think the worker drones got their personalities? Now, I just assume that they just created it themselves, and because there's no humans on Copper 9, the planet that they live on, it allowed their adaptive AI to think of something else other than work, and it gave them the opportunity to be more social and interactive beings. And I'm gonna assume that you probably thought that too, right? Well, you're wrong! Now be warned, you are not prepared for what I'm about to tell you, so beware. The reason why they have personalities is because the company itself built them with personalities. What?
But really? Why? Why would you do that? What?
Look at it through this perspective. Worker drones are meant to be used for manual labor, meant to do things that are way too dangerous for humans to do. They're meant to be fearless, they're meant to have nerves of steel so they can take on anything. But when you add personalities and, for some reason, pain, it negates all that purpose. I mean, they might need to talk to people, sure, but giving them whole personalities might make them have a chance to rebel against you for mistreating them like they're robots.
Do you want Terminators? Because that's how you get Terminators.
These problems are kinda huge when it's coming to the actual concept and fundamentals of the lore. Sin has no clear goals or motivation, and her plan doesn't seem like all that sound. The robots themselves don't have any corporal logic or technology biased, and overall, the logic doesn't add up that much. I do have to admit, the series isn't finished, so the lore is incomplete. And this series takes place far, far, far in the future, so it's not unlikely that these robots would act this way and have personalities. But it's a little dumb for a corporal entity to make this decision, especially when you want to avoid a rebel. So I can suspend a disbelief on the robots and all that stuff, but when it comes to Sin, I really don't understand what her goals are, what her motivation is. What's the point of her, like, doing any of this stuff? Why does she need to kill Uzi? Why does she need more solar programs? I mean, does she want to kill all the humans? Does she want something else? Is it Sin actually wanting to do this? Is it Silvergram's idea?
Why? 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 Why, oh God? Why?
It's so unclear, and even this lore that I put out to you is not that easy to come by. If you watch this series all the way through as your only attempt at finding the lore, you will get jack squat, and that's the problem. I am very sorry that I'm being super negative about this show. It is a really good show. Its characters are really likable. I like the suspense. I like what it does with its concepts at times, and the cinematography and all the horror elements is really well done. But there's one element of this show that I feel like is draining its potential, is how it's balancing the lore. Now, I myself has always seen lore as just something extra, something in the background you can make connections to and then make your own theories, all that kind of junk. It was more or less something you didn't need to go looking for, but if you like the show and you're interested, you can go and find it. A little extra puzzle for all the dedicated fans. But in Murder Drones, you need to have a magnifying glass over every single episode and watch them several times in order for a single scene to actually make sense. Now, there probably are a couple of you that actually do like doing that and get a good rise out of solving lore, but to a casual viewer, they might just want to watch it and not dedicate their whole life to it just to understand a single sentence. And I think what emphasizes this problem the most is from a quote from Stanton, the guy who made WALL-E.
The audience actually wants to work for their meal. They just don't want to know that they're doing that. That's your job as a storyteller, is to hide the fact that you're making them work for their meal.
But when this series is super obviously dependent on the lore to understand this, it could kill some early fans. This is probably why it's not as big as it could have been. Making your audience know that they're working for their food. I mean, come on, no one likes doing research just to watch a show. Just watch Yellow Apocalypse, for example. Actually, no, scratch that. We don't want everything to be explained to you, so we need everything to be, you know, fleshed out and feel organic. And I think how they could have done this better was to actually take notes from the greatest show of all time, Gravity Falls. Now, they don't really have the greatest comparisons. There's a couple I could make, but the main comparison I want to make is how I think the Murder Drones show should have done its mystery. For instance, in an episode of Gravity Falls called Headhunters, Uncle Stan has Mabel make a wax figure of himself to complete his wax figure collection. But at the end of the episode, the wax figure ends up dying, and Grunkle Stan ends up hosting a funeral for it. And at the end of his eulogy, he ends up running off a podium crying his eyes out. Now, to a first-time viewer, that would just seem as an egotistical joke of Grunkle Stan being, you know, full of himself. But as someone who's finished the show and then watched it again, it would reveal to be a subtle reference to how he actually lost his other brother and how there are two Stans at some point. And this is basically Grunkle Stan having a funeral for Stanford, his brother. It turns from funny to character-driven and rethinks how you see the whole entire episode and the whole entire series at that point. Now I feel like they actually try to do this with their own lore at some point with the whole S's thing, but I feel like that's way too subtle. And all I really think they need to do to fix this problem is just to have a story and then have lore to go along with it underneath it. Have it be an extra thing. Have that if you watch the show one time, then you'll still get understanding of a narrative, character arcs, character-driven stuff, that kind of thing. But if you go looking for the lore, then you get a whole new perspective. Now at this point in the series, I actually don't really know if they can add this into the story. They may be able to do it, they're good writers, but it'd be a little too late for that. And it's not really a bad thing. I love this show, and it has some great moments, but a lot of the show can be very confusing if you don't know the lore. But at least what you can do is make a show that is horrifically suspenseful, amazingly animated, well told in its story, and tie up all the loose ends of the lore, creating a spectacular series. And then leave it on a cliffhanger for season 2.
We'll be right back with more Laverne and Shirley. But I want it now!
But ignoring all of that, it still is a really good show. It has heart and character and horrifying things put into it. So if you are interested, please go watch the show. It is an amazing series. It deserves more love. And hey, you've made it this far in the video, so why not consider subscribing? It helps out a lot. And it's free! How can you say no to free? Comment down below if I've missed anything about the lore. Like the video if you enjoyed. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. See you later. And if this doesn't work out, then at least we have the Digital Circus to— Don't. What? I'm just saying that— Ethan, trust me on this. Don't say it. The Amazing Digital Circus is way better. Dude! Angry fan base alert. Angry fan base alert. Angry fan base alert. Wait a minute, where all these people come from? Well, I tried to warn you. What? What was it? Hey, wait for me!
The flesh demands invitation.
You're dead, kiddo.